Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers podcast, a podcast where we discuss our thoughts on gaming news. I am Angelus de Mortiel, together with Kev the Gamer.
Xaiphen's a filthy casual.
Excuse me, we're renaming Kev the Gamer. Instead of Kev the Gamer, it's Kev is no good at For Honor. And Xaiphen is here.
And I've also played For Honor, and I also suck at it, but I admit it. It's no technical problem.
Yeah, stuttering.
I haven't lost to the AI yet. I watched Morty kept taking L's against the AI.
Oh shit, dude! When you're playing
when
against
you
the
turn
zero
it on to level 1, Kev.
Yeah, when you turn on to the level 1 practice AI, that doesn't count. That's not the same thing. It's when you actually play the real AI and you're fucking around. Yeah. but then we go into PvP and all those little fanboys playing their Orochis thinking that they're cool, and I just wreck them with my Conqueror all fucking day.
Conqueror is awesome, bro.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Paragon? How you doing? Anyway,
Morty's being a filthy casual too.
Yeah, he is. But
by the way, Xaiphen is also here.
And apparently
we already brought you up, bro.
Oh.
Yeah, he apparently wasn't listening. But then again, that's par for the course, right?
That's why he's a filthy casual.
Wait, what's going on?
See?
Yeah, hopefully the chat actually works. I've had so many problems with Restream chat of late. No problems up until literally not a minute ago, and then all of a sudden it breaks. But yeah, so in any case, we're gonna be doing things a little differently this week. We're gonna be experimenting with a little bit of a new format. And essentially how this is gonna work is, well, we're gonna talk about games we played, obviously For Honor, and all that stuff. And we'll briefly touch on any news we've heard of, but then the major part of the podcast is going to be kind of discussing a singular topic. So it's going to be, and this week, obviously, as the title implies, is going to be talking about console wars and kind of that whole digging into the kind of unbiased truth behind it and what everybody else sees, but a handful of fanboys don't quite understand.
Handful?
Yes, a handful. Believe it or not, they're the fucking minority, Kev. And
I don't believe it.
Yeah. It's just that we're so deep into that kind of culture that we're surrounded by them. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You think of what is 10% of a population of 1 million?
Yeah.
That's still a large fucking number.
Yep. It most certainly is.
Too many morons with too much free time.
Something like that. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start off with the games that you aren't bad at, Kev. What have you been playing this week?
This week I worked a lot this week, so I didn't play a ton of games. I've been playing Mass Effect again. Mass Effect, I'm back on course with Mass Effect 2. I haven't streamed it since Sunday. Played some For Honor. I like For Honor, but we talked about it. I have that stuttering issue. Mm-hmm. And it's not my hardware. I have no idea what's going on here. Mm-hmm. But if it keeps happening, I like the game. I'll probably just get it on PS4. Anything else? It's in Mass Effect. I started playing Overwatch again. I took a break from Overwatch and I'm back on Overwatch. Enjoying that. The D.Va nerf was nowhere near as bad as people said it would have been. Like, D.Va's still a beast.
But what about the major question on there, which is, what about that Sombra buff?
Sombra's still trash.
Still trash.
The buff that she needs is not the buff that she's going to get. Now.
I'm getting hacked a lot more, especially like if I'm in like a mid gunfight and she like cloaks. Yeah, I'll get hacked a lot more from behind.
What the buff that she needs is not the buff she's going to get. The buff that she needs is cloak
DPS.
Direct to action. No, like break cloak direct to action. No,
without the delay.
No delay on cloak break. That's the buff
she
that
really,
she
really
needs.
needs that. That would help her out a
damage
lot.
Buff or any other of that crap. She needs the delay on cloak break removed.
I don't know. I still think she needs a little bit of a damage buff too.
Yeah, well, or tighten the spread up of her gun, or either both.
That would help too.
Well, it's either one or the other, not both though.
Not both.
tighten up the spread just a little bit, not a whole lot. We don't want her to have pinpoint accuracy. I don't want it to be a laser, but or give her a little bit of a damage buff per bullet. They will they will bring about the same thing.
Right, exactly. The Halo Wars 2 beta. Have you guys tried that yet?
Nope.
No.
It's fun. If you like StarCraft, it's very similar to StarCraft.
But what if I like Command and Conquer?
I never played
Apparently, they've put out some DLC for Forza Motorsport 6. I started that up yesterday and decided to play around with it a little bit, and a whole bunch of stuff of, hey, you can dump money on this. I decided not to, but it looked cool.
You like microtransactions. We all love microtransactions.
Oh, yeah. I've spent into them before, but a racing game is not quite my preferred genre to bother with that on there. I've spent microtransactions on racing games way back when in Need for Speed era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they said Need for Speed. Like Need for Speed is gone. It's just a dead IP.
What I mean is the original, like the first one.
The first one?
No, it wasn't first one. It was what was it? It was way after the first one. It was Underground. That's what it was.
The first one was on the original PlayStation.
Yeah, I played that one.
The fuck out of that on the original PlayStation.
Was it original PlayStation? I thought it was out before that. I thought.
No, I had it on. I had on original PlayStation. Need for Speed through 3 or 4 was on PlayStation, and I think it was either 4 or 5 or whatever was next came out on PS2.
Yeah, because it actually initially I believe was exclusive to PlayStation.
Well, there was really options then.
It may have been on PC, but that was out of my element in that point in time.
Yeah, I remember Need for Speed, the original Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, getting the El Nino car, which was so fast. It was kind of like getting the Wild Thing 2000 in Road Rash, right? Way back in the day. There, we're going way back in time. Both cars or both vehicles had the same thing. Getting that Wild Thing 2000 or the El Nino, both were so fast. They were not designed for you to drive them properly. They're designed to accelerate up to really, really fast speeds, and then you crash. That's rinse and repeat.
There's some people that like to put an emphasis on precision steering on navigating a course. I like to use other cars and guardrails to assist my steering.
One of my monitors died.
and here's the truth of it is that if we're talking GTA, in which case then you use civilians and pedestrians to assist you in driving.
Oh yeah, why not?
But if it's GTA 5, then those pedestrians and civilians will actually take pictures of you running people over with their cell phones, and then they'll post it.
Yeah, SJWs. That's what SJWs do.
Wow. That's what they do. They just literally take pictures of that because that's apparently a thing. Anyway, so you back to Overwatch. Anything Oh yeah. Speaking of Overwatch, let's divert on a little path here. Oh my God. The internet exploded this week. May is not as fat as everybody thought.
You mean because they gave her a fat ass and people didn't like it?
No, it wasn't her fat ass. It was her skinny waist. It looked like, well, to be fair, it didn't look very realistic. It looked like she was wearing a cincher, like essentially a wide belt that some women wear that really heavily squeeze in their stomach to the point where it's probably damaging their internal organs.
Still, why do people give a fuck? Why are you opening a video game character?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's also another thing.
Joke. May is bae. I think Widowmaker's bae. If Widowmaker was a real woman, she'd be bad as fuck.
And of course,
I'm not sitting here beating off to these damn Overwatch characters.
Well, and the thing is it's this is why I joke and call Blizzard the Sandberg Edification Group. In case you guys didn't know, Sandberg is this this SJW woman reporter lady, whatever. That's actually, I don't know if they're married or if they're just dating or whatever. Dating the CEO of Blizzard, and since they started dating, you've noticed this drastic increase of these these PSAs that Blizzard does. They, once they hear that people were a little bit upset over May's skin being making her waist too skin. Oh, it was a bug. We're fixing it immediately. They don't respond with.
No, it wasn't.
Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
She is not.
Virgins?
She's not that thick anyway. Like when you saw her like little spray for the Olympics one, it just looked like she was just average, normal. And who cares?
I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care either way.
Yeah,
she could be Mercy Slim, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah, she could be like your stereotypical anime, 96 bust line with a 17-inch waist, and I wouldn't care because she's still fucking Satan.
Oh, she's still a fucking video game character.
She's still fucking Satan, and she's still.
Like I said, unless you're oogling Miranda Lawson, because she's like an actual person, and if you can find her and tap her, I wouldn't be mad at you. I see no reason to oogle over video games.
That's the chick from the show Chuck, by the way. I can't remember her name offhand.
I don't remember her name. She's an Australian model.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in the show Chuck, and which is actually a show that I strangely enjoyed for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, I wish my problems in life were as meaningless as a character looking skinny in a video game. Right? Exactly.
People have been bitching about character waist models since like DOA and shit too.
Yeah, well,
this stuff needs to stop.
What wasn't it? DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball 2 or 3 or whatever. They
banned it the one they banned in the U.S.
No, they didn't ban it. The company that makes the game, whatever, Konami, I'm assuming, because it's fucking Konami. Decided not to release it in the United States and in Europe because of the political climate, and I can't really blame them because of the SJWs would be just crying. Dude, it's cheesy Asian fan service. Like, if you watch any fucking anime that's been made in the past ever, oh my god, her skirt blows up and, oh, look, she's wearing panties. It's like, guys, guess what? I hate to break this to you.
But women wear panties?
Women wear panties, and they have
sometimes.
Boobs. And
sometimes they wear panties.
And guess what?
I prefer the ones that don't.
And guess what? Men have penises, except for Genji, because he's a little bitch.
I thought he was a robot.
Same difference.
There's a
robots have different anatomy?
No, because
so he was
everybody
Hanzo's brother, and then Hanzo killed him.
Because everybody,
and when Hanzo killed him, his body was put into cybertronic form, kind of like
by Mercy put him in a robotic form. But the thing is, no, he's a little bitch, but. You see, everybody seems in the Overwatch community seems to be in agreement that Zenyatta has a horse dick. So
Zenyatta's female.
Zenyatta is most certainly not female. Zenyatta is actually
every time I've seen anybody reference Zenyatta, it's with she.
Well, that's because they're a fucking idiot. Technically, it's gender neutral. It's an it, not a he or she, but the truth
I kind of thought that initially, but then I've always heard she.
But the thing is that it's actually a he. If you actually look at any of the story written, it's always he gets referred to. Because I mean, in the Overwatch world, robots are people. So I guess the Onyx do have a gender.
We're a few years off from that.
Right, we're working on it. We're trying to get the sex bots.
I mean, cats get treated like people just don't get tax returns.
Sex bots are really where it comes from.
So Zenyatta's a man bot instead of a femme bot.
Exactly.
What if he's really a femputer?
Yeah, if he's a femputer, you better watch out because then he's gonna try to have Amazonians snoo everybody to death.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of machines, I don't know why that. And this is a little bit off video game topic, but I was really impressed with it. Just because I spent a good deal of my youth watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. I was a big fan of it. The CEO of Amazon is also a fan of Star Trek, and he added to the wake words of the Echo for computer. So now you can say, computer and wake it up and start asking it things and feel like you're on Star Trek, computer. Except not as cool. Exactly. Just use the keyboard. The keyboard. How quaint.
How quaint.
No, it's Hey Cortana. Or
transparent
Siri, but
aluminum.
Siri be pissing me off because Siri be talking shit now.
Be very clear and explain to me exactly how the fuck transparent aluminum makes any damn sense.
Transparent aluminum?
Because the Heisenberg compensator, okay? That's why. It's a Heisenberg compensator. What does it?
I mean, I thought compensators were just, guys with small dicks and nice cars.
No, it's a Star Trek joke. It's essentially their element zero way of explaining away shit that can't actually work. The teleporter.
They should be like Star Wars. They don't even explain the Force.
Yeah,
it's just the Force.
Well, yeah, exactly. Star Wars didn't even try. They're just like, well, no, I take that back. They did.
They did try.
Oh God.
Apparently, there was do or do not. There was no try. Well, apparently they tried instead of do or do not.
Guys, midichlorians are a microscopic organism in all living things.
Speaking of the Force, I'm still disappointed about Mass Effect and them really taking out the RPG element. Pick a class, like they're giving too much damn freedom.
Apparently, I missed out on some news on that.
Yeah, so we'll discuss that as far as the news a little bit goes. Like there was the new trailer and then a new initiative thing that kind of revealed some new information on that. Now the whole
I did a reaction video on my channel.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
You could have left that part out.
Everybody cares about Kev.
I had to throw that in there, but no, I just hadn't had a chance yet. But I did watch the trailer on stream because I started streaming the first time I was gonna launch up For Honor. Turn on the stream, load up the game. I'm talking about some stuff about the game, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going down for maintenance in 5 minutes," and I'm like, "Fuck you." Anyway. So I watched it on stream, and that way everybody got to watch it. But obviously they stole the Robert Downey Jr. or as Key and Peele like to call them, RD squared. They stole the line from the Avengers with the whole like, I don't need an army, I've got a Krogan, and I'm like, yeah, the Krogan warlord pretty much is an army by himself with a hammer. But
I swear Shepard said that before too.
No, he hasn't. That's a new one. I'm glad that they're not reusing a whole lot of lines that I see so far. But
I swear they brought back Harbinger.
One of the things that I heard was a lot of people that were like saying, "Oh, I'm glad that it's more of on a positive note and there's exploration and stuff." And I'm like, except we're still dealing with the kind of the oppressive force, this giant force that we're up against. Insurmountable odds and that sort of thing. And when I mean that, I mean, yeah, well, I know, but I mean, like, instead of having, for example, as a storytelling mechanic, it's kind of like, and the best example I could give was either the original Star Wars trilogy versus the prequels, which is not the best example, so I switched it up to going with Star Trek, The Next Generation versus Deep Space Nine, specifically the Dominion arc in Deep Space Nine. Where in Star Trek The Next Generation, it was just kind of like, hey, we're flippantly just exploring, and all of this drama happens as we're exploring. At the end of every episode, largely everything just goes back to the way it was, because we've resolved whatever drama that came up as a part of exploring. Whereas Deep Space Nine had this that arc of the Dominion arc, this oppressive force, the Dominion, invading, and oh man, it's this major odds overcoming, because Deep Space Nine wasn't about exploration, right? It was, about a space station and the wars on that one planet and stuff.
Yeah, there was so Deep Space Nine had a lot more focus on civil rights and other political, topics. They decided to take a turn on that, but at that point in time, Roddenberry was no longer involved with the Star Trek project, because he was dead.
Yeah, that always tends to screw people out of being able to do work.
Yeah,
it does.
It's, not like that, the show didn't have some merit, and it was a good show. I did like the show, but it was definitely different than its two predecessors, both, the original series and...
TOS.
TOS. Both TOS and TNG, had the format that Roddenberry wanted out of it, with the more exploratory episode or non-continuity nature behind it. Mm-hmm. Whereas Deep Space Nine is like, okay, we're gonna add continuity story from a fixed point instead of a wandering point.
Yeah,
and it was good for what it was. It was just not the same as its predecessors.
Exactly.
Well, see, but now y'all got me wanting to watch Deep Space Nine. I've never actually watched Deep Space Nine.
Oh, it's a good show. I do recommend it, honestly.
It's on Netflix. I don't know. Since you mentioned it, I'm looking at it on Netflix.
They have all of the Star Treks on Netflix, I'm pretty certain. They even have Enterprise. Sorry.
Yes, they do.
I can't say that name.
Voyager,
I can't say that name without laughing.
Enterprise got better after the first season.
No, it didn't.
A little bit.
No, it was still
did a little bit.
It was still the pretty much, like, hey, let's see what way we can sexually exploit T'Pol again. Let's be honest.
I tried to ignore that.
And, I mean, don't get me wrong, the girl's a looker, but seriously, do you have to go that deep into the fan service? Oh, you're infected with a micro.
Well, with your sexy, you always want to go deep.
No, like,
that's the point.
You have some microbe, so you have to smear cream all over your skin.
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's weak as shit. Anyway, so here's kind of going back to where I was going with the comparison there, though, is that with that Deep Space Nine, you had that looming oppressive force that they had to overcome. Whereas with Next Generation, it was kind of more flippant. There might have been some sinister things in the background that happened. But
there were some oppressive forces here and there, but throughout the show, they were intermittent and they were not ever present.
Exactly.
Unlike in Voyager or the movies or Deep Space Nine, where it was ever-present issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think when we're comparing that too, I don't see a lot of Star Trek in Mass Effect. I think it's mostly based on Star Wars.
Yeah, I see more of Star Trek in the Mass Effect series than I do Star Wars. Well, there's both, and let me put it this way: is you look at the formation of the tech and the military environment, the alien interaction seems a lot more Star Trek-y. Mm-hmm. The social interactions and the metropolitan societies within each individual area, that's more Star Wars-y, which Star Wars always tried to push it as a little bit more of a comparison to current actual life, whereas Star Trek was supposed to be a utopian focused environment. Even if it was not a true utopia, there were certain aspects of it. If you went to the right place with the right time and had the right upbringing, blah blah blah, it could be considered a utopia. If you were in an alien world, it may or may not be a utopia, depending on what you got stuck with and your culture was blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, I'd say the social environment of Mass Effect was more Star Wars, whereas the environment and the layout was more Star Trek.
Maybe that's why I paid much attention, because like you said, like the social politics. When I watched Star Trek as a kid, I didn't care about none of that shit. I knows the worlds. I like the combat.
Yeah,
all that. And I see so much of that in Mass Effect.
Yeah, well, everybody likes the phasers, and lasers. TJ Laser.
Yeah, that was.
And I hope that they focus more on that in Andromeda too. I'm afraid of elf fruit. I have nightmares about elf fruit.
Yeah, no, that's why I said space elf fruit. I'm allergic to it. God damn it, BioWare, stop with the fucking grindy MMO quest. This is not SOTOR. Hell, SOTOR isn't even that grindy.
No, it isn't.
My whole thing, it isn't even that. It's like, I don't mind open world RPGs when that's your strength, but that's Bethesda's strength. And I see BioWare trying to, especially since the EA acquisition,
that is debatable, sir.
Bethesda.
I would debate that's a strength of Bethesda.
That's Bethesda makes good open world games.
No, I would say that's CD Projekt Red's strength. They showed.
I didn't say they were better than CD Projekt Red.
I know
something that Bethesda does well.
Oh, I know they do.
I've only played one CD Projekt Red game, so I can't say that is or isn't.
True, they do it. They do decently, but let's be honest. There's a lot of stuff that is weak in Bethesda open world games. Notably, the storytelling is kind of like they do not have the most compelling stories, and I'll admit that. I love Elder Scrolls games, but I'll admit, usually the storytelling is meh at best. Sometimes it has good moments, but largely it's got too much stuff going on. It's too much information being processed to you at once for you to really be involved in any of the stories or really get attached to any characters. Except Serena. I can be attached to her all day. Stop, Serena.
Now...
Yeah, Fallout suffers more from that too. I'm more familiar with Fallout games than Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
Fallout suffers a little bit from that too.
Isn't Blizzard good at open world games? Granted, I don't know from personal experience, but I've heard, particularly the world of Warcraft is.
I guess two.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
well, what's the other one?
Diablo. If you want to call it
Diablo.
I don't know. That's. I'm not sure that would classify as an open world game, really. That's more of a dungeon.
You go out and do quests on whatever the hell you want to. You're unrestricted.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's not like an open world, like say, like The Witcher, where you can go you can run from end to end of the world, or like GTA.
Well, exactly.
End to end of the world is not a problem.
Diablo is kind of a dungeon crawler, in my opinion. It's not really an open world game. But in any case, BioWare could probably do open world well, but I think the problem is that you run into this issue where you essentially get influenced from all of your, like, at some point there's some influence bleed from your other projects, because you have developers that go from Austin, which is largely the SOTOR capital of BioWare. There's other stuff there too, but that's mostly where the SOTOR happens. And then you get like whatever Edmonton and Montreal, whatever they, are doing in those, they swap around. Developers will go from one to the other, intermittently. And sometimes I think you have some like cross contamination, if it will. And I think that's kind of what happened with Inquisition, right? Is you had some SOTOR cross contamination happen there. And then we ended up with some of the MMO quests. The part that's confusing, though, is, like I said, it's kind of weird that SOTOR itself isn't even that fetch questy.
I'm just going to throw this out there. What up, Major? And get your ass in here.
Yeah. No,
we need a 4.
There you go.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We're okay without him. He's I don't know. he's too much of a scrub for the likes of this podcast. No, I talked to him yesterday. He was on playing some For Honor with us. By the way, real quick, diverging off of Andromeda, we'll get back to that in a minute. But the For Honor thing, I found out that the 1v1s in that game are some of the most fun that I've had.
That's all I play.
The thing is I keep trying the 4v4 because I'll end up getting a bunch of people together and they're all like, yeah, let's group up, and I'm like, yeah, the 4v4 is all right. I end up getting carried every fucking time because I don't know. I can't figure out exactly. I haven't got a good feel for it yet.
I blame it because you use a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah,
that's what I'm blaming it on.
Sure.
I don't know. This game to me just doesn't feel good on mouse and keyboard.
It's debatable on whether or not it's better on controller too. And I did play it on controller, and not mouse and keyboard. I played it on 2 different controllers, and
I played it with my Xbox One controller.
So I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if you consider this cheating or not, but I actually mapped the guard buttons and to the different guards. So like guard up, guard left, guard right, and full guard. I've actually mapped those to keys on my G13 so that way I can move the mouse, or barring the fact that sometimes I forget to move the mouse, then I will
try and move it in the way you want to look, not the way you need to block.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes on that. But I found out that like 1v1, first of all, I did a series of like say 5 1v1 matches, in For Honor last night on stream. The first one, first of all, I wasn't doing the best to begin with. I was making a lot of mistakes. But
you heard it here first. Morty's trash.
But the thing is that the guy I was playing, this guy was good. He was patient. He was playing tactically. I was like, I'm not even mad that I lost. Like, that dude was good. And then I played a bunch of trash people that were playing their Orochis, trying to be pros. Like, they're pro Genjis. That's literally what it is. This is the Genji. Orochi is the Genji of this thing. And, by the way, in case you guys playing Orochis don't know, the Conqueror is a hard counter to the Orochi, which is why you all are rage quitting when I guard break the fuck out of you. It's because you have no answer for it. So I literally just stun lock the fuck out of him with just cheap ass combos and guard breaking, because that's the tactic he works. And the fact that that's not a cheese move, it doesn't work on everybody. It only works on Orochis. That was proven when I had the last match I went against, the guy who ended up we ended up teaming up later on. He was bringing in a Kensai, the normal Vanguard samurai. And dude fucking just went to town on me. Like, I literally had no answer. Like, we actually did 2 whole best of 5 matches, and he had me dead to rights. Like, there was nothing I could do against him. that's the difference, right? You know, you play in your Orochi, I'm going to hard counter you, but I haven't figured out how to do to fight against Kensai's. But anyway, that was my little divergent. 1v1, some of the best fun I've had in a PvP game in a long time. Tactical skill, that's what it's all about. Anyway, so since I'm ADD and I'm jumping back to Andromeda again, I just wanted to get that thought out there so I don't forget, right? And Major uses mouse and keyboard as well because he's a pro.
Major's filthy casual too.
Unlike you scrubs using controllers.
We're all a bunch of filthy casuals.
But so with the Mass Effect Andromeda trailer that I saw on there is that like the theme on there is I feel like that the whole Kev thing, this Arkan guy who feels like the Collector General. I'm the harbinger of your destruction.
He sounds like Harbinger.
Right? And I'm concerned if they're trying to like literally remake Mass Effect 2. That's my concern. Like, don't get me wrong, Mass Effect 2 was the best in the series. And like I'm hearing like there's a lot of loyalty missions for all the companions and
you don't need to remake
as I'm doing
good,
my
you need to make something new good.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm doing my Let's Play of Mass Effect 2, and of course we're playing it 7 years later again. I don't know. I'm really I'm going back and forth between 2 and 3, and I'm really thinking 3 is a better game right now. Just due to the gameplay mechanics. I think the mechanics are so much more polished than 3.
Yeah, so the gameplay mechanics were a lot more polished. The difference is in I'm looking at kind of the story, the single player story.
Yeah. 2 I think is like the best mix of both.
Exactly. It's got some of the good solid gameplay mechanics of 3, but some of the better kind of story mystery stuff that going on from 1 with a little bit more action in it. You know, like I don't know. It feels like the best, strongest overall game. It's kind of why I like Oblivion. It doesn't have as good a gameplay mechanics as Skyrim, but it's got some of the better story and world building of Morrowind. So it's kind of got that mixture of both. But so the way that they're kind of laying things out for a lot of this is that they seem to be really getting into this classless system, which I hear Kev is like about.
I don't like it.
This whole classless system, which like I don't know. I like the idea of specializing a lot, which of course you're gonna end up naturally doing. There's gonna be mid-max builds all over the place, and they're gonna be on my channel too, by the way. Just real quick pointer. But I feel like you're gonna end up like specializing in stuff, but I do kind of like stuff that rewards you for making a choice. Like, you know, oh hey, right. I want to play as a Knight Enchanter in Inquisition. Like, now I feel like I have unlocked a new facet of the game that's unique to that specialization. Whereas the whole yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. I feel like this with games nowadays, everything is trying to become the same. So everything since these new consoles come out, for example, has been open world.
Yep.
Everything is trying to take away choice. They're trying to be open and free because Minecraft is so successful and it's open and free. And, you don't really have to do anything, but you can do anything. I feel like now all games are trying to do that, and it's to the detriment of some of these games, especially an RPG, which is you play a role. You do one thing really, really well. You pick a character, they do one thing really well. They have a specific personality. That's what it is. You make a hard choice. And when you take that away, you kind of take away what makes an RPG in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Well, Paragon, I have to say, I don't agree that RPGs need to use the same combat mechanic from For Honor. It's good in that aspect, but that combat mechanic I would label as tactical fighter. Yeah, I had originally seen an older version of that in Virtua Fighter 4 back on PlayStation 2. It is okay. It's good in certain aspects, but it's a more or less it's a fast-paced linear combat system. It does not have a lot of it doesn't have flow to it. Well, it's good in a certain aspect, but not good in all.
Can we just?
But another thing to add to Xaiphen's point too, that wouldn't like a game that wouldn't work on, say for example, Dark Souls.
Well, no,
that would not work in a Souls game.
No, let's first of all let's stop for a moment here. For Honor is a MOBA. That's the first thing that everybody needs to understand. It is a MOBA. It's straight up. Now, yeah, it's got the 1v1 mode and the 2v2s, which are kind of on the same, but its main mode, and you can tell this, its main mode where most of the effort is the 4v4 Dominion mode, which has kind of 3 lanes. You've got top, mid, and bot lanes. Hey, just like a MOBA. 4v4, yeah, is less than some MOBAs, but you have creeps. It's a MOBA. It just so happens to have a unique dueling mechanic is essentially what's going on.
Well, the dueling mechanic is taken from tactical fighting games, like Virtua Fighter.
Exactly. So that's my first thing on there. So, no, it wouldn't work in an RPG because it's not an RPG game. It's a MOBA, and it's a battle arena. And in a battle arena, you have to have like a unique mechanic that differentiates yours, which is part of the reason why some games that aren't unique enough don't really succeed very well when you're up against giants like League of Legends and Dota 2.
You mean Battleborn?
Yeah, actually, Battleborn is a good example of a game that didn't know what the hell it was doing. When you're trying to compete with League of Legends and Overwatch, you're a fucking idiot. When you try to compete with them both, like you're going to get drowned.
And the thing is, I think one of the reasons why Overwatch is so successful, it's just fresh and new. It's a shooter. It's an objective-based shooter, but I can't think of another shooter that's quite like Overwatch.
Let's be honest, it is not new. Unreal motherfucking Tournament.
I didn't play Unreal.
So, and that's not a new game. That's one of the first
shooters. It's like a 20-year-old game.
Yeah, it's one of the first shooters ever made. It's one of the first PvP shooters ever. In fact, I'm pretty certain it was the first PvP shooter ever.
I know Halo took a lot of influence from it.
Oh yeah, a lot. But the thing is that you had different heroes that had different weapon sets, and you would pick a hero, and he would have a specific weapon, and like a primary fire and an alt fire. I don't think they had abilities. It was just more or less their weapon was unique, and that was kind of the early example of a hero shooter. Which now, obviously, we have several examples. We have Team Fortress 2.
Six.
No.
Paragons.
Well, you have Paragon. Team Fortress 2 was kind of the first.
Paragon's MOBA, so.
Yeah,
Paragons?
no, Paladin.
Wait,
Paladins.
Paladins. That's what I'm thinking. If I get the names confused, Paladins and TF2 are both of those are Valve, aren't they?
No. It's high
TF2
res.
is Valve.
Yeah, Paladins is high res.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, so when you consider those on there, that Paladins would be Paladins is kind of a competitor with Smite, or not Paladins. Sorry, I'm getting all confused. Paragon is a competitor with Smite. It's a third-person MOBA, as opposed to the top-down isometric MOBA. But with a hero shooter, it's a battle arena of sorts. You could call it a MOBA because it's a multiplayer online battle arena. Much like you could say that about Evolve, and let's be honest, you could call it about the original Titanfall, but that's actually not the case with Titanfall 2. So, whatever. Point is that Battle Arena is pretty generic, but there's a lot of key elements that you look for in them, and that's where a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's like an RPG or it's a fighter. Well, no, it's a MOBA, but yeah. Where was I going? And now on RPG elements, though, one of the things about RPGs that I really enjoy, like this is one of the reasons why I played Divinity Original Sin, and I love that. I haven't played it in a long time and really need to go back to it, is that you could really try, and that game opened it up. It lets you pretty much do anything you wanted. You were not restricted to class per se. You kind of chose a starting class to kind of get your first couple of abilities, but you could literally do anything. The problem is that the way that the game was set up, in order to
Here we
really...
go. Here we go. The way my shit is set up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you missed the Kevin Hart reference. It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But no, the way the game is set up is, in order to get the powerful abilities, the powerful skills, you really have to focus into a specific, a specific set, a specific role, be it a warrior or mage or a rogue, whatever. You could try to be all of those, but you're going to be really weak if you try to multi-class in that game. So
hopefully that's how it works in Andromeda too. Then
that's how I'm hoping is. I'm hoping that in order to have the really powerful shit, you have to really focus in on tech, biotic, or combat.
Right, and I'm also hoping that they have what you call skill check, level check, whatever. Like I don't get if you haven't picked your role by a certain point, kind of Dark Souls. Dark Souls, I think about it, kind of really, really does this. Yeah. It's classless, but if you try to be a little bit of everything, you get to a certain point where you're just going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
You have to pick a role at some point.
The downside is I don't think they'll do that in Mass Effect because Dark Souls has built its reputation on being unapproachable. Right? If you get what I mean on there. They do not pull punches. They don't give a fuck about your fee-fees.
Didn't they have wasn't their slogan at one point in time? I don't remember which Dark Souls it was you're going to die or you will die.
Yeah.
Oh, you get an achievement for it, actually. I mean, first time I played Dark Souls 2, I had no idea what I was doing. Achievement you can get in, I know you get it in 2 and I think you get it in 3 too. First time you die, welcome to Dark Souls.
You're welcome to Dark Souls, yeah. and the thing is they've built
an achievement when you die.
Starting with Demon Souls, they've literally built their mythos on being incredibly difficult and unapproachable. It does not pull punches. It does not like I said, it doesn't care for your fee-fees. It's gonna brutalize you. It's gonna bend you over and wrap its dick in sandpaper and have a field day. It doesn't care.
It's not gonna use Vaseline.
No, it's not gonna use Vaseline. Whereas, let's be honest, BioWare games try to be more approachable. They don't handhold you through the whole way, but there's a lot of handholding, a lot of exposition. So I don't think they would directly check you out of a region and make it impossible. Yes, Dark Souls 3
kind of does this too. Bloodborne is funny because the way they troll you in the beginning of the game, thinking of that too. They don't give you a weapon when you start out. You have to die to get your weapon.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, and to be funny, Dark Souls 3 is more noob-friendly than Dark Souls game, but let's be honest, Bloodborne is considered to be the easiest. But the thing is that you're still dealing with...
It easier because of 22 frames.
Yeah, it's cinematic, Kev. Cinematic?
No, it's game. 2 frames shy of that.
Can't even hold 24 frames per second. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, to me, I know that BioWare will not make shit that hard, even on Nightmare. Like, Insanity.
Insanity.
Yeah, because I'm playing.
Confirmed.
Well, no, honestly, Insanity on Mass Effect 1 was actually pretty fucking hard in a lot of times. But when you got into Mass Effect 2, Insanity seemed a little bit easier, and Insanity on Mass Effect 3 to me seemed the easiest. And it's the same thing with Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins, it felt like it was the toughest to play on Nightmare on that game. Whereas Dragon Age Inquisition, Nightmare is a joke.
I'm going to have to go back and actually play. I never played Mass Effect, any of them on Insanity.
Yeah.
I think the highest I've gone one below Insanity. I think it was the hardcore.
That's because you're a scrub, but yes.
No. Actually, I found it annoying in Mass Effect 2 that Husks had armor. That's why I didn't do that. It was just annoying to me.
For me,
because I like playing biotics, and it completely nullified biotics.
So Major was saying that Bandai is the reason that Dark Souls is only known for its difficulty. Miyazaki himself has said that he never intended for the difficulty to be a standout point on its own. He meant for the difficulty to be an extension of the world to serve to illustrate the themes of the entire game. Yeah, but what you intend and what actually happens are two different things. They ran with it. Mm-hmm. They have run with that whole difficulty, brutal, feeling of that game, where now it's become a meme. It literally has.
It's created a genre to its own. Like, look how they're promoting Neo. They're saying, hey, this is like Dark Souls, and it's very much so like Dark Souls.
Yeah, Neo is.
It's actually harder than Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
You have to micromanage a lot more stuff, like mid-combat. Your stamina. I was fighting this dude, I ran the stamina. You kill somebody, you have to hold R1 on your controller to get your stamina back.
Yeah.
Like usually these blue orbs around you that you have to do to get your stamina back, or you're just gonna get exhausted and die in a 2v1 fight.
Well, and the thing is that that's one of the things where like you take a game like Dark Souls, and like I said, I personally respect the shit out of Dark Souls for a game that does not pander, right? It like, yeah, granted, you could say Dark Souls 3 is easier than the other 3 titles in the series, but it still isn't really pandering. It's not like, oh, here's an easy mode so you guys don't have to feel weak. No, it's still
It is easy mode. It's called the first playthrough.
Yeah,
so you go into the plus mode, it gets harder.
Yeah, and it's like that's one of the things that I respect that the Souls series for, is the fact that they're like, no, we're gonna make this game tough because that's how it's meant to be thematically. You're not in a nice, pretty world where everybody's nice to you. You're in hell, for lack of a better term. It's not really not hell, but you're in a hell of sorts. And I kind of feel like that's a great way. That's called art. That's called not compromising your art to pander to your fans. Or to not to pander to your fans, because fans of Dark Souls are fans partially because of the difficulty, I guess. But, and that's one of the things that I really hope that BioWare does not go in the wake of, because I felt like, like I'm playing on Nightmare, I fucking kill the toughest dragon in the goddamn game on Nightmare with trials on in under 3 fucking minutes. These are supposed to be the pinnacle of combat in Dragon Age. And the reason why I mentioned the trial on there is that I would have killed him faster. I would have killed him in one attack, or her, excuse me. I would have killed her in one attack had I not had the trials turned on. Because I was like level 20 something, and that dragon is like, level 18 or whatever. Something like that. And I would have one-shot it, but I actually have a trial turned on that scales the enemy's level up to you. Like, so enemies can be higher level than you or the same level as you, but never below, right? And it still took me 3 minutes. And I'm like, are you serious? It's too easy. Too easy. I want that shit to, like, the dragons in Dragon Age Inquisition are meant to be out-of-the-way fights. They are not mandatory for the game whatsoever. So as a result, I want those things to be like gorgeous. I want them to reward me, and I want them to be tough. You have to do everything right to beat them. And that was kind of one of the things that I was like, I love the dragon hunts in that game so much that it's kind of, I kind of get disappointed at a certain degree with some of them. But that's what I hope they don't do, just to make people feel special, is pander to them. You don't need to pander. Make your game how you're going to make your game, and don't pander to people. But I don't know. That's that. It is what it is. Anyway,
I just realized we're almost an hour in, and we still haven't touched on our main topic.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. We had Mass Effect news.
It's all Travis's fault.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is Travis's fault, by the way.
He's a filthy casual too.
So everybody, make sure that you find Travis in any place he goes, like Twitter or on the Discord or wherever, and you tell him that it's all his fault that we go off on a tangent. Even though he would
and remember, his Twitter is Deathshroud09.
Deathshroud09. Yep. And he's
sending many tweets.
Yep. As many tweets. # Travis fail.
Hashtag get Xaiphen on Twitter.
Get Xaiphen on. Oh God, I'm not sure I want to do that, because then he'll know that I'm talking shit about him all the time.
You don't want me on Twitter.
Well, see, then he has to follow more people. I don't know. You talking shit until you tweet at me. That follow a lot of people.
Yeah, that is actually very true. I don't see half the tweets that I get on there. So in any case, so this segment that we're actually going to get into now, the actual segment behind it, the real meat and potatoes or some shit on here, is we're actually going to kind of get into this little depth of the kind of console wars on here. Because I hear a lot, and what honestly kind of spurred this, I'll be straight up and honest, what spurred this on, this creation of this topic, is all Kev.
Was this when I was trolling on Twitter?
Kev tweeting out that it's not even a month into 2017, and Sony has already won the console war.
Now you have to understand, I was trolling the hell out of Xbox fans.
I know you were.
Because the thing after Scalebound got canceled.
I know you were, and like that's the thing though, is that, well, first of all, exclusives are anti-consumer in their creation.
And I tell you, boy, Nick, that because Nick made a video saying otherwise, and we don't know why. Nicodemus.
Oh,
shout out to Nick, shout out to him and Fabian T2. There, I'm down with Tick on podcast at South by Southwest.
Yeah, no,
South, excuse me.
I love you guys. I love you guys to death, but no, exclusives are bad, and for believing that they're not is actually something that's we're going to talk about on here. It's one of the symptoms of this cancer of these console wars. So first, to give everybody a very quick 30-second background on the console wars on here, and this kind of also started with a lot of the Nintendo Switch stuff. That the Nintendo Switch's launch had fanboys of all.
This has been way before that.
Oh yeah,
people have been fighting about exclusives this whole generation.
No,
people have been harassing Xbox fans because all their exclusives are going to PC.
Oh no! It's before that. I'm just
talking about the conversation as of late.
Yeah, and the thing is that the Switch launch had fanboys of all colors up in arms all over the place.
Oh, that Switch gang.
Yeah, and then you had Sony regularly touting, "Oh, we got 20 million more consoles, in hands of people this generation as a point of pride." And well, honestly, why shouldn't they? The PS4 Pro has been solidly outselling, the Xbox One for years now. But
it's on pace with PS2.
Yeah.
It's on pace to surpass the PS2.
No, it has not yet. And
that's not the reports I was seeing this week.
They have not released their numbers yet, so we have no way of
on pace to surpass and having surpassed are two different things.
Right, yeah. What I'm saying is the reports I've seen this week is that they are on track to surpass.
So my question is, how would they know? Because Sony and Microsoft have not released any sales numbers since like the end of the Xbox 360/PS3 era. So we actually have no hard evidence to back any of that shit up. We honestly
Sony was talking about 50-something million like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they're claiming that, but I honestly they have not.
Well, what they claim and official number released are two different things.
Yeah,
again, going with two different things.
But here's my thing is that like a lot of Sony fans, kind of like fanboys, I shouldn't say fans, fanboys, tout the sales dominance as Sony winning the console war this generation. And this kind of goes back further. Like, to take it back to the history on there, the concept of a console war dates back to the early 80s with Mattel's marketing department attempting to demonstrate the Intellivision's superior graphics compared to the Atari 2600. And pretty much since then, every single generation has had at least two console makers wielding fiery marketing campaigns at each other, like Nintendo don't. Sega does what Nintendo don't. If you guys remember that one.
Sega yeah. Because the Sega Mega Drive didn't hold nothing to the NES.
Oh, but Mortal Kombat had blood in it on Sega.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the NES, not the SNES.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, and obviously more recently it's been all about Microsoft versus Sony because Nintendo has taken the blue ocean approach since the release of the Wii.
You mean irrelevant?
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually.
I think this is the N64.
Oh, we're going to get into that myth, too. We're going to get into that myth as well. Not irrelevant at all. But before we get there, I wanted to ask you guys, what's kind of your most prominent memory of console wars? Like, when did you first hear about it? What is either what makes you laugh or irritates you or whatever? What was your most prominent memory of relation to console wars? And we'll start with Xaiphen on this, since I know Kev can talk a lot.
See, I've gone through many different eras of console wars, and the point in time in which it actually caught my attention on things enough for me to consider of any relevance was the point where I just stepped out of it, and that was the PS4, Xbox One, and unlike previous generations of the console war dichotomy. Because that's where it's always gone is, it's a 1v1 sort of deal. Whether or not there's other contenders in the mix, they always get just shuffled to the sides or shuffle themselves outside of it, like Nintendo more recently. But and that's the thing is like, okay, there's the PS4, Xbox One. They launched at nearly the same time, and that has not been done in previous competing generations. If you look at Xbox versus PS2, those came out years apart. The Xbox 360 versus PS3, those came out years apart. The SNES versus Sega Genesis came out years apart. Both the what was it? The Atari Jaguar and the 3DO and the N64 ending up having some partial competition with the Sony PlayStation, although it became more directly Sony PlayStation and Nintendo 64 briefly. Those still came out on different time they did not come out at the same time. So that's what's more significant about this past generation. Granted, the PS4 Pro versus the Xbox having yet to come out with their Scorpio or whatever it is yet to be named. The name which we shall not discuss. I
hope the Scorpio name sticks.
Yeah, it's not a bad name. I'm fine with that, but Microsoft
it's like the Neo.
sticking
with the Neo was a better name than the PlayStation Pro.
Well, none of them. Rarely does any of them stick with code names. Microsoft has yet to stick with one code name for actual public launch.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I think the name is cool.
Yeah, it may get reused in a future, product. I won't even specify Xbox. It may get reused in a future product, but it is not what is now being named Scorpio is not what is going to be named on launch. But aside from the most recent revisions to the current generation consoles, they got launched nearly simultaneously, and that is one thing that you can actually consider a more like the war started at the same time, so to speak, as opposed to one kicking off and then the other coming to challenge. They were, they launched near simultaneously, and that one's a little bit more interesting. And that was at the point where I'm like, no, I'm done. PC, I'm done with this. But and I remember that like my most notice on this was not the actual, and I've actually taken preference, but I collected all the consoles. The one
you still
I've
have
missed,
the Atari 7600, don't you?
7800, yes, I do. It still functions. I have not had a NES. Original Nintendo Entertainment System. I never collected one of those, but I don't know if
it's one of the best consoles of all time. It's Nintendo's best console, bruh.
Well, yeah. Well, here, at any rate, more. I don't know if you remember when we were growing up. We actually had it in a television at one point in time.
Yes,
but
I do.
Yeah, it didn't work for very long. We were very little at the time. We never really got to play it. It broke before we got to play it, but we got the 7800. We played that for a little. We're not exactly a rich family, so we were behind the times. There's, our aunt had the NES. We had the Atari 7800, and then we got a nice, wonderful Christmas gift for the both of us, the Super Nintendo. We never ended up getting a Genesis, but we had friends who we got to play Genesis on, and then as I got older and got jobs, I started collecting all the consoles. I got a Nintendo, or at least ones that had a limited amount of popularity to be sold locally, because I never got a 3DO, I never got an Atari Jaguar, and, I remember seeing ads for them, and later in life, once I get more access to the internet, I looked up into them, and for the era, they were very impressive systems. Sega Saturn. I forgot to make mention of the Sega Saturn. That when I said Sony competing with 3DO, that was inaccurate. It was Sega Saturn, Atari Jaguar, both made half-assed attempts at competing with the PlayStation. The N64 came out after the PlayStation did. But they all, got pretty much swamped out by PlayStation. It was too convenient, too cheap, and gained too much popularity.
And the CD-ROM format was just vastly superior to cartridge.
Well, Sega Saturn was also on a CD-ROM format.
Yeah.
And so was the Dreamcast, but the Dreamcast came in too late for what it was offering. Technically,
the Dreamcast was in the Xbox and
Original.
PlayStation 2.
It actually came out a year prior to the PlayStation 2 and 2 years prior to the Xbox.
Yes, but it was in that generation. It was because you had the Sega Saturn.
It would be considered in that generation because what was currently out that it was trying to compete with, it was far superior to. Running a gigabyte discs, not DVDs, not CDs. It was somewhere in between. They have their own program for the discs. They had gigabyte discs, they had internet connection, it had the analog stick, and it had triggers. It was a good system.
Oh, and let's not forget it had the little cartridges with the LCD screens that you could put in the controller, so that way when you're playing NFL games, you could choose your plays without the other guy knowing.
Any of them had their failures along with successes, but yeah, that's the thing is I remember a lot of those, and I collected a lot of those. And I still have some of them sitting in storage. I think I've got a Super Nintendo, a PS1, the PS2 that died after I got home from Iraq.
Kev, what are you doing?
And the PS3 and Xbox 360, I sold.
Or rather, keep unplugging it.
Sold those off last year because I just had no more need for it. We still have a Wii because my daughter plays it occasionally, and that's about as far as I go with consoles anymore. But I never really bought into the hype, even though I may have owned one console or another. That was not based on favoritism. It was based on circumstance of availability. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to, I have the Super Nintendo because I like it better than a Sega. It's like, no, this is what was a gift to me. That's what I have, so I'm going to have fun with it.
But let's be honest, that's Super Nintendo. A lot of good times there. But Kev, what's your most prominent memory of the console wars?
Actually, I didn't really pay the console wars any mind until this generation. Mostly because I just played games. Like, I've never been a loyalist to one brand, and I tell people this story all the time. When I grew up, I couldn't usually afford to have multiple consoles, or if I did get the second one, it was like later in the generation. For example, I had the original PlayStation, but I didn't get the N64 until like 2001. Something like that. So for me, I went from the NES to the Genesis, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 360, and now and this is the first generation where I've had both consoles like in the first year or so. So for me, when I saw the console war, and I still think like it's kind of silly, it's ridiculous. Like, you're arguing over stuff that's stupid, for lack of a better term. It's like, okay, one has games that you like over the other. I usually just pick the console that might have had a game that I was interested in. For example, I picked the 360. The graphics were a little bit better. I didn't like the price tag on the PS3, and I really wanted to play Mass Effect. And at the time, as far as I knew, it was exclusive to the 360. Of course, 6 months later, it came out for PC.
Yeah.
If only you knew.
So for me, that's always how I chose a console. I didn't base it on anything like that. I wasn't loyal to anything or anyone. Even this time around, I have both of them. I like both consoles. I tend to play my Xbox more because I know more people online with Xbox than I do on PlayStation. And then with my PC, I got the PC. Actually, Major got it. Major and a few other people got in my ear about PC because I remember when they made the announcements, I was asking everybody, so where are you going? What are you doing next generation? Most people stayed Xbox because that's where the people they knew were, or that's where their games they liked were. But for me, it was like, but I like PlayStation. I like Xbox. There's games I want to play on both. Actually, I found the PlayStation to be a bit more appealing at first. Now I'm kind of like, the OS annoys me. I hate the GUI on the PS4.
It's not just that. It's the fact that, I don't know, like, I personally think it's a ripoff to pay for online service. Like, maybe in the original Xbox's lifetime, whenever like an online service like Xbox Live was scarce, it was in its fledgling years, I could see that, maybe, but present day,
my thing is justify the cost.
You can't. There is no justification.
No, I'm saying but I'm saying to these companies, if you think I should pay for it, then justify it. And they don't. But the problem is, you have people who are either they don't know better, or they're pro that console for whatever reason.
Well,
and they're just like, oh well, it's okay because it's $50 a year. You don't have $50, you'll get a job. I'm like, that's the job.
They start throwing in things like Microsoft, like server hosting multiplayer, or game file hosting, things like that. It doesn't count.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get to that in the myth section here. First of all, my most prominent, like my earliest memory in the console wars, like I actually can remember like people having debates on the Sega versus Nintendo, and like claiming some of the differences. I remember the Mortal Kombat blood argument, and I was like, wait, there's a difference? I had no idea. So what's funny about the Mortal Kombat argument too is if you exclude the blood argument,
I actually think it was a better version of Super Nintendo. It was more true to the arcade.
Mm-hmm. And I played the arcade.
Yeah, especially like the sound. Especially like the sound
Yeah.
of the Super Nintendo was amazing.
But the thing is like probably my most prominent memory of actual console war nonsense was hearing people like decrying the N64, or sorry, no, the original Xbox or the PS2. It was usually the PS2. The PS2 just ran away with the market at that time, right? Obviously,
that's when Sony won the market and became a worldwide brand.
Yeah, and the thing is that people would be like, "Oh, the Xbox sucks." I was like, actually, the Xbox was pretty damn good, and I got to play both because Xaiphen had a PS2 and I had an Xbox, and we actually traded our consoles back and forth, and got to kind of experience. Like, don't get me wrong, Metal Gear Solid 2 was dynamite. Like, that game was ahead of its time as far as its gameplay, but at the same time, there were so many like Xbox games. Like, that's where I first experienced Morrowind, which is not an exclusive, but then you also had Halo. I mean, like it or hate it, you can't argue that Halo is definitely one of the most prolific shooters in the history of video games.
It was a trendsetter, and it was an influential game on it, successors.
Yeah, but that was probably my earliest memory was the Xbox versus PS2, and then pretty much since then I've heard going back and forth between them. And let's be honest here, and this is where we're going to get
into... Most people play multiplats.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that this is where we get into the myths in there. The marketing campaigns that these two companies or the two companies involved in whatever dichotomous war have inevitably led to a ton of misinformation over the years because they don't care if shit's true. They just do what sounds nice. Like, one of the preeminent myths that has come about from the console wars in these marketing campaigns is that PC is somehow irrelevant, right? Because the console makers are spending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on these contesting campaigns, but people don't hear about PC because it's not a singular brand. PC is not a brand.
It has a lot to do with marketing too. Like, people are fans of marketing.
Yeah.
Like, if you market something right, you can make anybody a fan of it. And since nobody owns PC gaming, people try to argue Microsoft, but
no, it's
PC
really...
is more than an operating system.
Exactly. Yeah. There is no singular brand behind PC, and I think that's
a catch on. You look at PC gaming is okay. You got Windows as the primary PC gaming environment, but Microsoft doesn't need to use Windows to compete with gaming environments. They've got that pretty well locked out. And yes, OS X is okay. Linux is growing, but Microsoft has it locked out. They need to compete with other OSs in different environments, and that's where you see the entire Windows marketing is. It does this better than Apple or blah blah blah. So that's where their focus is on that, not games.
Yeah, and the thing, well, they're trying to get back to the gaming marketing.
They're making a games mode for Windows 10.
Yeah,
that's supposed to help game performance.
The thing is,
but they're not marketing it in competition to somebody else. It's just like, oh, this is something else we're author. Moving on, we compete with whoever else this way.
Yeah, well, the thing is that like it's this myth that somehow PC gaming is not the biggest market for games, when in actuality it is actually the largest. There's been recent numbers that got released, the year-end 2016 gaming figures. Found out that the whole of gaming is $100 billion market, and guess what? I think it was like $30 or $40 billion of that was PC gaming, and only slightly more than that was mobile gaming. Yes, the dark horse that nobody ever talks about, also because it also does not have a singular brand behind it. Mobile gaming, your Android or iOS games, tablet, phone, whatever, is actually the largest gaming market. It is even ahead of PC. And then the consoles are like, if you put the markets of PS4 and Xbox together, they don't even equal up to PC.
They don't equal up to League.
Yeah, and that's
one game out of
and I guess that's the real thing, is that this myth is come about because there is no visibility of PC gaming, And that's not the only one. I mean,
I think PC is becoming more and more of a thing because of the internet.
Yeah.
With the big explosion in the internet, especially we're on the internet, what they say called Internet 3.0 now. When you look at that now, you see, hey, well, we see all these like YouTube Let's Players and stuff that are like big on PC gaming. People are like, oh shit, there's all kinds of cool shit going on PC. PC components are getting cheaper. Well, except Nvidia keeps hiking up prices. And you're starting to see people get more and more into the idea of, hey, I can game on PC and it's not horribly expensive.
Well, there's tons of other PC myths that we've actually discussed before on that. Obviously, we are all PC gamers here, although we're not like fanboys of PC gaming. Like Kev said, he has both of the current gen consoles, not the PS4 Pro, but the regular PS4.
Yeah, I have the PS4. I have the PS4 Slim, the Xbox One Slim. Mm-hmm. And I have the base models too, but I have those for my kids because they took over my regular models.
But let's be honest though, that's not the only myth that has come about from console wars. Like, for example, people were kind of miffed that I think it was Metal Gear Solid 5, right, wasn't exclusive to PlayStation. I'm like, you do realize that Metal Gear Solid didn't start as a Sony exclusive, right?
No, it was on Nintendo, wasn't it?
It was on Nintendo from the start. So it's not actually a Sony exclusive except for the PS2, PS3 versions. And Metal Gear Solid 2 even came out for Xbox. Eventually, and to be honest, it was also inferior. Like, it felt so much more sluggish. But whatever the case on there, then there was the other myth that the Xbox 360 won its generation of console wars.
No, I mean, if we're talking, based on what?
We won
the
that
Wii
generation.
Dominated, and the PlayStation 3 eventually caught up and outsold the 360.
No, not really.
Eventually, it did. Like, if you talk about today,
the
PlayStation 3 has outsold the Xbox 360.
It has not.
I'm going to say there's not. Those weren't winners, and here's why. Was there specifically losers?
Yeah. Well, here's the first thing.
Well, here's what I mean by
mobile
losers.
Gamers.
If you look in the 90s, losers, 3DO, Atari Jaguar, Sega Saturn, eventually N64, Dreamcast. They're gone. They're gone. Mm-hmm. They're losers. So you can say Sony was a definitive winner. Yeah, Sony was a definitive winner at that point in time because their competition had to leave the market.
Yeah.
Whereas, the Wii and now the Switch, the Wii is still being sold. You can still buy Wiis. You can still buy 360s. You can still buy PS3s. So there's not a definitive winner at that point in time because the market, they haven't been shut out of the market yet.
Yeah,
and they're not being bought and sold as collectibles either. Something that's hard to find. It's just a matter of like, well, I'm getting a new console. Let's see if there's anybody that'll buy this for $50 out of my house.
Yeah, the thing is that first of all, that's another myth on there is that PS3 caught up and outsold Xbox. No, it actually did not. It for a brief moment. It surpassed a sales of monthly sales of Xbox 360. The next month, it was back down again.
I'm going to find the numbers. I saw the numbers a couple weeks ago.
You apparently did not because this was that myth started out late last year. Someone caught on that, and like literally the next month, Xbox One was back on top again. And I'm like,
that wasn't numbers to date. That was numbers for that month.
Well, that's why I want to look at it again. Actually, that one I can't remember. I can't remember if it was a monthly sales figure or if it was sales to date. But whatever it was, it actually had surpassed it after that. But that's not. I guess that kind of that goes again slips into the mindset of this, which is what we're going into the next part on here. First I'm gonna pose a question on here before we get to the next one on the problem that console wars create. But first, I'm going to pose the question to you guys on what console war myths have you fallen for, or which ones stand out to you the most? If you haven't fallen for any, which ones stand out to you the most? And we'll start with Kev on this one.
I was going to hope you start with Xaiphen because I can't think of that on the top of my head. Console war myths.
I just
I got one. Nobody plays insert game here on PC. Call of Duty's a great one.
Yep.
As if it's like hard to find a match in most multiplayer games on PC. Maybe not certain modes after a while, but hell, that even happens with Call of Duty on console. I remember I had Black Ops 3 on PlayStation 4. Waited a few months. I'm trying to remember. It was the mode where you escort the robot. I can't think what the mode is called. But after like 2-3 months, I couldn't find a match in that mode on PC or PlayStation. You know, so but people, you know, they generally say that about PC, but it's also generally true on console. Or, you know, now AAA communities are smaller on PC than they are on console. I think that has more to do with that PC just has more games.
I don't know if I'd agree with that one.
Whether the communities are smaller.
Yeah, that is very much dependent. Like, for example, Dragon Age. Let's take that as example. Multi-plat game. In order, the community size, PC was largest by, I would say, probably about 10 to 15%.
Okay. Let me rephrase.
I'm
referring mainly to multiplayer online games.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, even still, that greatly depends.
Maybe it does. In my experience, it generally the consoles generally have a bigger community. In my experience, at least with the games I've been playing. For example, Titanfall, the community is still a bit bigger on, or Titanfall 2, excuse me. Well, either Titanfall has always been bigger on console. Call of Duty needs to be that way too.
There is still that lingering myth of, you know, that people don't play multiplats on PC, or that the multiplats are worse. Like, the only example I ever hear is Batman Arkham Knight. That's the only one they can ever give for that.
Right.
Even that was launch.
Occasion where I'd rather play a console port of the game than the PC version. For example, Call of Duty. Call of Duty is something I'd probably rather play on console. Gears 4, the community is much bigger on Xbox. I'd rather play it on Xbox. It's hard to find matches like in like the core modes, but I think their matchmaking is fucked up on PC. I'm not sure.
That's entirely possible too.
I mean, but like I said, there's different conditions. I was making a point that I forgot now that we've gotten off track.
That's what we do.
And that PCs cost an arm and a leg to make. I just think it's ridiculous to build. Yep. And you have to upgrade it every 3 months. Yep. Meanwhile, outside of like cosmetic shit, I haven't upgraded my PC in 2 years. This is 3 if you want to think about it. The only thing I've changed, like major hardware wise, since I've gotten this PC, I went from a GTX 650 to a 750 Ti. I didn't like the 650. Used a 750 Ti for a year and then got my 970.
Yeah, so Mort's got you beat. Mort has not spent any money on his upgrade to his PC in 4 years, right?
Since I have not spent a single dime to upgrade my computer since I built it.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. The only things I've changed on my PC since I got it are all cosmetic because I bought a pre-built. Mm-hmm. I bought a pre-built. It was just an Asus guy. I changed the case. I added some LED lights to it. I added an SSD. Yeah, I think that's about it.
I'm not going to make any comment on that one.
Yeah, you go crazy on your shit. But let's not get too off track on there.
We're still on myths of.
Yeah. So what myth have you either fallen for, or what one stands out to you the most?
That's what I'm saying. The one that you have to upgrade all the time.
Yeah. Okay. And for you, Xaiphen?
Well, okay. The first earliest one that I can remember that I briefly fell for, and now here's a little bit of history on me personally. I've not always been very technologically knowledgeable. A lot in my youth, despite what I sound like now, I learned a lot in a very short period of time in my life. So, back in early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, around the Xbox PS2 timeframe, I was fooled by the marketing of the 128-bit motion engine of the PS2 is more powerful than the Xbox CPU. I bought into that.
I think
the whole reason why the Xbox outperformed was because it was easier to program for, which, yes, it was easier to program for. I realize that now. However, Sony's processors were not superior than Xbox, as in just harder to program for was why the content quality was lower. No, it was a lower quality processing system because it was older. That's all there was to it.
Well, didn't the Xbox also have a dedicated GPU? The original Xbox.
Yeah, the original one did.
Yes.
Yeah, the original one did. And after that, they've pretty much gone with APUs since then.
After you're done with that point, I thought of another ridiculous quote that it's hilarious that I can't.
Actually, go ahead and inject it now because the other one goes a little bit different direction.
Xbox One with the cloud is more powerful than 4 Titans.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
Hang on.
that
What?
was one of the Xbox One fanboys. You guys remember last year the dude that canceled his pre-order over Quantum Break coming to
Are
PC?
you talking about, was it Crap Gamer or was that
No,
Noob
no, that
Tube?
was Iron Wolf. That was one of Crap Gamer's buddies.
Okay, yeah. Like
Since you
those.
are curious, it's perfectly healthy to eat batteries.
Ugh.
I
Yeah.
mean, really?
So Xaiphen, go ahead and kind of wrap
So
it up.
I want to address this question in the comments real quick too. The reason I bother with consoles is because it's a different experience. It's not necessarily a better or worse experience. It's just a different experience. So for me, in some games, like for example, I like WWE 2K. I can wait 6 months for it to come out, or I can just get it when it comes out if I want to play it when it comes out on PS4. It's usually I can get it like right now from Best Buy for $20, for 20, $30. Or I can wait for it to come out on PC, in March and pay full price for it. To me, it's kind of just what do you want to play? What are your priorities? I like different games on different platforms. I love Uncharted. I love God of War. I love Halo and Gears. At the same time, I love the freedom and flexibility of a PC. That's why I play everything personally.
Yep.
I want access.
Kev is the multi-platform gamer.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. At any rate, moving on with my other myth that this one very briefly fell for, but I'm sure even Mort has heard me speak wrongly about it at one point in time or another. Was the myth of, and this is a financing myth in dealing with the Xbox Live Gold content. Now, originally it had a kickstarting effect, but the way they perpetrated it later on and still perpetrate it is complete BS. Now, Xbox Live Gold, the service that you paid for, what you were paying for was not what you were getting. However, and the reason why I say this is what you were paying for was future investment into Microsoft's, cloud network. And the thing is once they rolled that out, that was good, and it still has some benefit today. But there's no reason that you need to still keep paying for that. That is self-sustaining on game storage sales.
One second. Would you like to hear the best part about the Xbox Live marketing? So you remember when Xbox One was coming out, they were like, "Your investment into Xbox Live has allowed us to launch 300,000 more servers worldwide and blah, 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 all of this stuff." Hey, guess what? They actually rent most of their servers from Amazon. Oh.
Yeah.
Burn.
You look at it that way. But that was something I fell for briefly because I had a 360 and a PS3. And there was a noticeable, perceivable difference on network. And I think I paid for 1 month of PS Plus or whatever the hell their online service was.
Yeah.
Just to see if it made any difference whatsoever. No, it didn't. I mean,
there was just the games on PS3.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what
free.
Well, no, later on they launched a competing service with Xbox Live Gold. Because I didn't get the PS3 right away. I had the PS3 after it had been out for a few years.
It gave you
that's what I'm saying. I know what you're referencing. Yeah, the PS Plus.
Because it offered faster downloads and other stuff like that too, and better matchmaking, whatever. And I tested it out, and it didn't. It was not better. It was the Xbox 360 still had a superior network backing to it.
Yeah.
So I got to hand it to Amazon on that.
The online on PS4 is better than it was on PS3, but not like oh my god, better.
It's not worth the money you pay for it. But so just real quick to answer on chat there. Thoughts on Steam boxes and Alienware consoles. Here's the thing, is that when we're talking about consoles, we're not talking about the hardware per se. It's usually some other facet, like why Kev was talking about why he likes the Xbox or the PlayStation. It's usually because of exclusives, which, as we made mention, are completely anti-consumer. But since they're there and you want to play Uncharted, you don't really have an option. Or the experience that you get with a console, like you can't, like if you have a lot of friends, for example, that are on Xbox Live, you don't really have an option to play with them on PC.
Or PlayStation, for that matter.
Yeah, my usual response, of course, is time to make new friends and have better taste.
Yeah. As far as like looking
that's
at
so elitist.
I need a mic so I can just keep dropping it.
Looking at devices, the both the Alienware Alpha and the Alienware Steam Machine, because those are two different devices. One's Windows, one's not.
Yes,
those are not bad pieces of hardware for their price tag. I build computers, and my pricing is very competitive to big box sellers, like Alienware for one. With the exception of their Alpha and Steam boxes, I can build a computer for cheaper than every one of Alienware's offerings. Compete part to part, and be a cheaper price, except for that Alpha, the Steam box. I can't build something with that kind of hardware for that cheap.
Yeah. But so our last problem on here, so we're kind of getting towards the end here. The last part I was talking about here is that what this console war mentality, this marketing campaign has been so ingrained into people that it's created this problem. And it's not exclusive to consoles, but console manufacturers have really learned how to kind of monetize the inherent inclination of human nature to be drawn towards a dichotomy, the good versus evil type of thing. Mm-hmm. This exploitation...
That's even on PC when you look at NVIDIA versus AMD.
Oh, it's not just there. Like... Republican versus Democrat, like the you see it everywhere. Everywhere you go,
red versus blue.
Yeah, you go back in time. There is always some kind of dichotomy. French versus English. The Romans versus the Germans. Like it. Keep going back. There's always this dichotomy that people have to form on someone who's right and someone who's wrong. And the explanation, however, comes with a rather unpleasant side effect. What this has kind of overall done to the gaming community is it's fractured it into these camps. And you have this vocal minority, like Crap Gamer and those other guys on there. Was it Mr. YouTube TV or what? Or NoobTuber or whatever. Like those
JTech.
Yeah, JTech TV. Those vocal minority of gamers have been so sucked into the marketing war that they see themselves literally as soldiers on the front line of a non-existent conflict. We call that minority, of course, fanboys.
I call them morons.
But yeah, that's literally it. They're complete idiots, and all they do is they regurgitate their preferred platform, their preferred manufacturer. They regurgitate all of their press releases without fact checking, and then they will go and try to find fault in some kind of misinformation with the competitor stuff. And it's like, you're not being paid by anybody to do this. You're doing this for free. Mm-hmm. And so my question to you guys is kind of our last question in the series here is, what's your most memorable experience with a fanboy? And Kev, I know you have a few. But I want to see what Xaiphen has to say, because I honestly don't know. What's the most memorable experience you've had with a fanboy?
Memorable, that's the problem. Memorable. Now, I've had a few experiences with fanboys. Unfortunately, like, when I hit a wall of a large enough wall of stupidity, I can't keep smacking myself into this wall because I know it's still a wall. I'm not going to break it down. I'm going to break my fists. It's a wall of stupidity. You can't deal with that. The best thing to do is to walk away or walk around. And that's usually what I do. So it leaves a lot less memorable moment because I'm not beating my head against this wall of stupidity. I've seen several references of, the power of consoles versus PC and how they're capable. The most reasonable one, I was going to say that. I'm going to say not that recent. Yes, that recent, but not that recent.
Four Titans.
I'd say one that's still sticking with me because it's only a few months old is PS4 Pro 4K console. Like, you got to build a PC that's $1,500, which is true for consistent, smooth, high-end 4K support. You need an expensive PC hardware. Well, the PS4 Pro does it for $500, I think.
400, but it's not. But it doesn't do native 4K.
Exactly.
Games.
And
most of the games are 1440p upscled.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. No, they're 1080 upscaled.
They're not even upscaled. They're just 1080p. There's only one game they've demonstrated that's actually 4K, and guess what? It's fucking 1800p upscaled to 4K.
No, NBA 2K is native 4K.
No, it's not. It's 1800p upscaled.
They did a patch for it.
This is the graph rendering can't like that. The graphics rendering cannot support that.
It is actually
for
not
even
native
30
4K.
frames.
Yeah, it does not support
the
hardware. The hardware does not
here's
support
the thing
it.
is the PS4's 4K support advertising, and any console or any piece of equipment that usually offers 4K ready or 4K support or some other stuff like that. It can do 4K. Yes, if you're running Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Well, the Xbox One does that.
Yes, it does.
The PS4 Pro doesn't. The PS4 Pro doesn't.
One was the Xbox One was advertising 4K compatibility on launch. And that's because, well, it's got a Blu-ray player in there. Those 4K Blu-rays, it can play those because it doesn't have to render anything on a pre-recorded video.
Sony, who owns the IP for Blu-ray, doesn't have a 4K Blu-ray reader in the PS4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so funny. But yeah, so here's the thing, real quick, just to answer that little tidbit there on the whole like upscale. Essentially, the hardware for PS4 Pro, and they announced this. They actually officially released this. It actually supports a maximum of 1800p output resolution. That they use this checkerboard upscale pattern that actually gives it a fairly something like that. It's a fairly smooth upscaling method that allows them to output to 4K. And to be honest with you, 1800p is not actually that bad, but obviously it's not really 4K. And let's be honest, unless the fucking Xbox cost $1,000, the Xbox Scorpio cost $1,000 fucking dollars plus, it's not going to have that either, which it very well may, by the way. They have not in any way said that. They've said that the Scorpio is going to be a premium price product. So it's going to be expensive, more expensive than a lot of people will pay for.
And that's one thing that there's a difference on console versus PC, and neither fanboys or, in a lot of cases, non-fanboys don't quite realize this on, okay, you have a 1080 console versus a 1080 PC, and you have a good 1080 PC. You may be looking at $800-900 range for that PC versus the $200-300 for a console, depending on how you purchase the console. Let's say $300 for the console. Now, the biggest difference on there is you take every advanced setting you have on PC and minimize that option, remove it, or set that option to minimum, or remove it outright altogether, and it's almost to what that is of a console. And even then, it's still running things at a lot higher level than what a console is running. Things are built very exclusively for the lower hardware of the console. And even as the console hardware gets better, they're still built like that. So you say a console's capability to push things higher? No, it doesn't. It has lower grade software written for it.
Yeah. So Kev, what's your most? In fact, go ahead and give any and all memorable fanboy experiences you've had, because I know you've had so many.
Oh man, just look at my Twitter sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Because I get fanboys at the Yin Yang. It's funny.
It's what Kev does.
I think the silliest ones that I see are the AMD, or not the AMD, the NVIDIA. Well, them too, but the NVIDIA fanboys. Because NVIDIA is giving it to people. No Vaseline these days.
Well, the thing is I see both. I'll get to the end.
I see both of them.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm really seeing it with NVIDIA.
Like the meme of wait for
everybody
Ryzen.
Still says AMD is the devil, and for poor people.
What?
Excuse me. Meanwhile, NVIDIA is still getting a pass for the 3.5 gigabytes. People are just using that like, oh, 970 users got shit on.
Okay.
All NVIDIA customers should be pissed off about that.
No, they did not. They did not give that a pass, dude. There was a fucking class action lawsuit. Did you get your $10?
Well, you should have upgraded to a 980.
$10. Did you get your
980?
Did you get
over the 3.5 gigs of RAM?
Did you get your $10 from that class action lawsuit, Kev?
Not yet.
I think it was supposed to be 30. It was 10%.
I was sold 30.
Yeah, whatever. But the point is no, NVIDIA did not get a fucking pass for that just because it's now.
No. I'm talking about the people, not because of the settlement, but I'm saying the people that damage control it.
Oh yeah, no. Anytime. So here's my major thing, and I actually fucking called someone out on, like, I have those experiences regularly because I straight up call people out for bullshit. And here's my thing, first of all, is that this is the final line on fanboyism here, right? Is that you do not, unless you work for AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Sony, name, insert corporation here, unless you work for that company and you are a paid public relations or marketing person, it is not your fucking job to go out to damage control shit that they do. And you can try to say, oh, I'm just trying to inform the consumer. No, if you're spreading bullshit and marketing nonsense, that's not informing the consumer. You're misinforming them. Yeah, you're full of shit. And so here's my I've had a lot of memorable fanboy moments, but there's this guy yesterday that said, or this guy a couple weeks ago that was like, it's not even a month into 2017 and Sony's already won the console war, and I thought that was a great fanboy moment. I'm just fucking with Kev.
I was trying to shit on the Xbox fanboys. It was glorious.
It's not even the fanboys.
No, this was after Scalebound. This was like right when Scalebound got canceled, and everybody was posting up Scalebound with the capital L.
Yep. Well, no. So
was like, damn, you lost that. They lost another game.
So
and it was like, I'm like, damn, like Microsoft just keeps taking L's. The Nintendo Switch is just a giant L so far. No games. Well, like that's why I made the comment, because I knew it would get people in their feels.
Well, the thing is that the biggest, most memorable fanboy moment I had was someone who doesn't even own a PlayStation 4, and they made a video, and I'm not going to point out names on there, but I mean, it's not hard.
Go ahead, sell them out.
No. The thing is, I'm not going to name any names, but it's not like it would be that hard to search out the exact name of this video, claiming that the Xbox was niche and irrelevant. And the person who made this video was essentially, it was just op-ed. It was all opinions. And of course, opinions that they would then punctuate with the word facts, all in capital letters. And then whenever I pointed out, hey, this is your opinion on here, and you don't obviously understand what the word niche or irrelevant means, because neither are true, or facts for that matter. The end of that conversation, which I posted up in our, I cropped it, and this was a big, huge, long chain of conversation on YouTube there. The end of it ended with them saying, blocked for stupidity. That's your cue sign of a fanboy, is when someone realizes that they are wrong, and instead of saying, man, you're right, I was misinformed, instead they block you because they know that they can't win. That's when you know a fanboy. And this guy is a guy who masquerades as being a PC player and not a Sony fanboy, and he doesn't even own a fucking PS4, yet is still a fanboy of Sony. It boggles my mind how that can even be a fucking thing, but it is. And it's like, and unfortunately, while I have a lot of respects for Rags, who's a pretty big YouTuber who actually goes out and debunks a lot of anti-PC rhetoric. Rags is actually friends with this certain YouTuber, and I don't know if
Rags, a bond.
I'm not calling people out, man. Shut up. But yeah, so in any case, that was my most memorable fanboy moment, because it was just so blatantly fanboyistic. And yeah, it was fanatic propaganda, much like IGN. Yeah, IGN's a good example of
IGN are both guilty of it.
Well, let's be honest with you, they're pretty much on there.
GameSpot's a little better about it.
And just to kind of wrap up on there, first of all, fanboyism comes in all flavors. I cannot in good conscience say, oh, these NVIDIA fanboys or these Sony fanboys or whatever. No, I have seen
all fanboys are AIDS.
I like, there's a meme going around right now in a lot of gaming community, PC gaming communities. Wait for Ryzen, and it's all kinds of jokes. Wait for Ryzen, because that's what all of the AMD fanboys are saying. Wait for Ryzen, because they have nothing else to contribute to the conversation against Intel, which Intel unfortunately has a monopoly. And to be honest, I am glad that AMD is finally getting something new, because competition makes everybody better. And that's kind of the moral on this. The one good thing of the console wars is that the competition in some ways has strived some companies to compete and be better. Other ones prefer to not actually compete with offering better products and instead, just try to market their shit better. Which is kind of where you get with the consoles. They're not like, that's why so many of us migrated to PC when the Xbox and PS4 came out, is because they were shit. Let's be honest. It was like, hey, what's better about this than my Xbox 360? Why should I buy this? There's no good reason for this. I'm just going to go to PC where I have the most amount of exclusives, not because of some corporation paying a publisher to make it exclusive. No, it's exclusive because only the PC has the capabilities to handle said game. I have the versatility of using any input that I want. I don't have to pay for online service because, newsflash, you don't have to pay $60 a year to support online services. Steam has VoIP, has matchmaking, has, friends and all that shit.
All of the services do. Steam, Uplay, GOG, Blizzard, all of them have it.
And wait a minute, how can they possibly afford this? Oh, they charge a percentage off of the game sales.
Yeah, and let's not forget the fact that that's not the only place that console OEMs charge on there. They charge on the back end as well. Publishers have to pay the console makers. Okay, I take that back. That might be outdated. I heard that they did away with this policy, but at one point in time, I did know that it cost money to certify a patch for or DLC.
That's still a thing. They were talking about it. We're on the Blizzard forums the other day. Because that's why the Overwatch public test environment is not on console. Well, because they want to certify everything they want to charge you for. That's also why PS4 wasn't getting the mods for Fallout the way they were supposed to.
Well, they want
to certify the mods and charge the developer to do it.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Warframe, for example, multi-plat game, right? PC gets all the updates first, not because they necessarily prefer the PC. It's because they want to they can't. Every little patch and update that comes to PC, they can't do that because it would be financially untenable for them to do that because they have to pay for each patch.
There's also a second stage of that too. If they ran all of those updates through Steam itself, then they'd be paying almost as much, whereas they actually have an update or a launcher that they run through Steam, and then they run all the updates through that launcher, which is all on their servers instead of having to pay Steam for use of their network services.
Yeah,
so Steam charges for those too. I didn't know. Steam charges lights.
They don't. No. They don't charge certification costs. What they charge for is essentially server hosting. Yeah.
The storage, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they do, and that's entirely on the back end.
That actually costs that money.
Yeah, and the thing is, here's the other catch on there, is that server hosting cost can be rolled into the back end kick that you give to Steam for the sales, right? So let's say you pay 10% of the sales goes to Steam, which I think it's a lot more than that, or goes to Valve. Excuse me, 10% of your sales goes to Valve. That's low, whatever. But say, instead of paying 10%, you pay 15% and you get the server hosting. That's one of the options that Steam has on the back end, which Microsoft and Sony do not offer. They will charge you 15% of your sales and then charge you for every patch and update you want to do and all the DLC you do. And you have a cap on how big a patch or an update can be. If it's bigger than that, you have to pay more. And then they charge the consumers $60 a fucking year to use their own internet connection. You guys don't realize that you're being raped up the ass by console OEMs. And the thing is they don't need to do it. They're doing it because you guys are letting them. If all of a sudden you were like, you know what? I'm not going to pay for Xbox Live anymore until and I'm just going to move to PC. If people started doing that en masse, all of a sudden you would see Xbox Live become free, gold, become free.
Yeah.
PSN Plus would become free. Nintendo's new service that they're going to launch would be free.
It should be free anyway. Nintendo Network's garbage.
It should be free.
PSN should be free because PSN is not great either.
You know, reason why PSN is doing what it's doing because it was so successful with Microsoft. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, not a matter of just got away with it.
Getting money for this.
Yeah, they made a lot of money with it.
Yeah, and they made a lot of money without really any needing to do anything, and that's kind of the that's kind of where I'm at. For a lot of people, don't freaking realize this, that they're being gypped, and then they come up with like excuses as to justify why they're doing it, and I think that's really where it comes down to. Is a lot of this comes to the psychological trend of people feeling the need to justify their purchases, right? If they buy a NVIDIA GPU, or if they buy an Xbox One, or they vote Democrat, they feel the need that they have to justify their existence by that purchase, or by that whatever, that choice that they've made. They feel the need their existence predicates that being a justified choice. And I think that's
protection
really
from hackers. No. No. There's no.
Wait. Protectors
from hackers.
Wait, well, I gotta ask.
Fanboys say that you pay to use the service because it offers better protection from hackers. Quote. Another. The guy who posted it is not believing it.
No, yeah, he's saying that that's a fanboy myth, and that is another good myth I've heard. Because first of all, let's quickly touch, being the resident cybersecurity expert here. PC players don't get hacked really ever. If they do, it's phishing. And guess what? I can get phished on any online service. I can get my Microsoft account phished. Oh, yeah. I can get my Sony account phished. And guess what?
Email phished all the time.
Oh yeah. Let's not forget for a moment here, guys. How many times has Sony's shit been hacked?
Oh jeez.
No, listen, you guys don't know this. This is a little cybersec news bulletin that I got a while back. Did you know at one point in time, every single computer that Sony owned had this BIOS embedded malware, a rootkit, this really nasty, on every computer. We're talking Sony Entertainment America, Sony Movie Studios, Sony, every branch of Sony, everything everywhere had this rootkit on it, and that's part of how they got hacked a few times. Like it was amazing how bad it was. The biggest embarrassment in cybersecurity in the history of cybersecurity. That's my little final thought on there. Anyway, so we're gonna go to our final thoughts here. Xaiphen, any final thoughts on the console wars or any other news stuff that we talked about today?
It's all BS. Hey, I build computers. Now, if you're looking for a not as cheap as an alpha option, Alienware alpha option, if you're local, come to me. I will build you a computer to get yourself away from consoles. If you're looking for something that's a little bit mid or upper range, I'm flexible on prices. You will not find big box purchases or other custom builders as cost effective as I am, especially with the quality of service that I offer. Unless you really like your consoles, and have a good reason for it, not delusional reason, a good reason for liking your consoles, which there are good reasons, get away from them. Go PC. I went PC and I haven't looked back.
There's a good reason?
Very, very, very few, but they're out there.
I think it really kind of like when you talk about I think people have the wrong perception of play on a PC because it's better, it's more powerful, whatever. I think consoles have a charm to them. I'm not saying that I could probably go back and play a console, like just a console or just my PC.
The charm of Sony's operating system?
Yeah, that's why I'm bullshit about it. But it's beating up on Timmy No Thumbs. I like the I feel like in some ways consoles are a better social space because console players aren't as spread out as PC players. Mm-hmm. It's little things like that, and I actually do enjoy.
Like I said, there are some good reasons. If you have those reasons, then stick to them. There's also crap reasons.
I like the exclusives too. I don't have a problem with exclusivity for first-party games.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Sony makes a game. I see no issue with them not putting it anywhere else. Sony made it, and Sony makes the console. I'm fine with that. My problem is when you go out and buy rights to Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yep.
Do you buy rights to Street Fighter 5?
Yep.
That's my beef. But everybody fights in the console war. We don't
or
like
even
ours,
worse,
we hate
timed
yours.
exclusive. Like essentially, we paid money to have this game a little bit sooner than other people. That's a little bullshit.
The Call of Duty map exclusivity, which is a little bit of it, which is like a minor thing, but it's still annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Where we paid Activision, so we get the DLC first. That's retarded.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's big business, and it's another way that publishers make their money, and I think it's a little bullshit. But it is what it is. Sure. Who said final thoughts?
Xaiphen went, and then I kind of just interjected, and then I'm just going to end it with everybody fights in the console war. We don't like ours. We do hate yours. It's Xbox One versus PS4.
And Kev is that scrubby dude that wants to sit in the middle. Yeah, he wants to sit in the middle, and I'm a filthy
neutral until people start talking to me, and then they say, "No, you're just a PC leader."
He's a member of the beige planet.
Yeah, I've heard this rumor, and Kev is an example of this. I've heard this rumor that neutrals are actually fanboys. They're because you can't not make a choice according to some people.
I told you, I'm a fanboy of beautiful women with nice boobs. That's what I'm a fanboy of.
Neutrals being ultimate fanboys makes perfect sense if you don't think about it.
Exactly. That's
it is. I mean, it makes perfect sense if you don't think about it.
So listen. My final thoughts on there is, I understand that some people play on consoles and they make purchasing decisions, because I'm not going to stick to the console versus PC thing. There's not really a debate to be had there. You're being ripped off by consoles if you own one.
I don't feel ripped off.
Who the fuck said a banned word? Apparently Moobot just wrecked your shit, man. I'm not sure what you said there, but sorry about that.
If it was me, was it me?
I don't know. No, it was the Coloratron dude or Ton.
Wait, so neutrals equal fanboys fuck logic?
I don't know, but whatever it is, Moobot just fucking wrecked his shit for some reason. Apparently there was a banned word in there. I thought that there should be a timeout on there, but it just your timeout was fuck your shit. Anyway,
cyborgs are going to take over the world.
Yeah, so in any case, I have to change I have the stock banned words on there, which probably means the F-bomb is on there. Guess what? I have no problem with profanity. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. That's my thoughts on it.
Fuck bitches, get money.
Yes, Moobot is a fascist fanboy. That's what it is. Moobot works for Sony. You heard it here first, guy. So in any case, though, my final thoughts on there is there's no real debate on PC versus console. Because that's not a debate. If you are trying to defend your use of a console, I can't think of a reason that does not have a solution that involves PC. However,
well, I mean, there is a debate there. You see, guys, Rags destroys these guys all the time.
That's
in these quote unquote debates.
That's why he destroys them. But the problem is
they're founded in bullshit.
That's why he destroys them, is because there is no actual debate. Anything that you could say to try to defend using a console, like for something other than
whatever happened to I use it because I like it.
Yeah, like if it's a personal opinion, you just say, "Hey, I like it," and that's it. That's fine. It. It's what point you get past that. That's when you start getting into that fanboy territory. I use it because I like I think that the graphics look better, that it's cheaper than a PC, that the online service, that it's better to get all of your games from one source, which, by the way, that shit pisses me off. Like, it is never a good idea for one company to own the entire distribution system. That is fucking monopoly. I don't know how that's
I don't know if people remember how big in their britches Sony got after the PS2.
Yeah.
But that was a big reason why the PS3 struggled at first.
Yeah.
So Sony got too big for their britches.
Well, and the thing is
PS2.
Let's put it this way,
they got cocky.
I'm waiting for the day when the PlayStation Marketplace on the PlayStation and the Xbox store on Xbox comes under fire for antitrust because it is a fucking monopoly. It is.
Well, the reason they're going to say it's not is because you can buy it within the store on the console.
Well, I mean, this is your example of how monopoly or how non-monopolies are good. Pull-opolies, I think, is the technical term, right? Is, for example, Steam. Steam had no refund policy at all for years. That's like huge, and this is coming from Colatron here, or Colaton, sorry, whatever. Obviously that is very anti-consumer. That's bad. No refund policy. But then you had Origin starting to get bigger as they took all of their games out of Steam and locked them down to the Origin game service. And they're like, oh yeah, we have this quite substantial refund service. So if you don't like the game, feel free to return it to us. No big deal. We're
even
good on that.
GOG has a refund policy.
Well, yeah, and everybody had, and Steam was like, yeah, we might want to do this because everybody else is doing it, and it makes us look really bad. And that's kind of the way
people will stop buying shit from them if they can't get a chance on a second chance on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But so in any case though, that said though, my point though is that it doesn't matter what the product choice that you're making is, or the choice you make in general or whatever, be it Democrat, Republican, Russia versus United States, NVIDIA versus AMD, PC versus things that aren't as good as PC, whatever your choice is there.
I like to use it as blondes versus brunettes.
Yeah.
Both fun.
Whatever your choice is, if you are going to attempt to defend that choice, you better actually have a legitimate argument and don't regurgitate shit that you hear on the internet. Do your own fucking research. You may find that your shit's wrong, and that's okay. Being wrong is okay, right. Except if it's me, because I'm never wrong.
Except for when no, I think one of the big things too, what we're talking about the console war too, and this kind of a last thought too. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think, just stick to a side that they know, in that they're used to. They're like, okay, they're afraid of making a bad choice, especially when money's on the line. When these consoles came out $400 or $500, you don't want to drop $400 or $500 and get the wrong console. Yep. Nobody wants to do that.
No.
Nope. I understand that. I think that's where a lot of the fanboyism comes, like you said, defending a purchase because they don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay to be wrong. That's how you learn.
Wrong, you should also do a little bit of research. Like, I hated when console fanboys debate PC players, especially PC players who play consoles for years, when they tell them that PC is better and this is why. Like, I can tell you the distinct difference. You're arguing with a guy who's done both, and you've only done one.
Yep.
Or worse, the guys who well, PC used to suck when I played it in 1998.
Yeah.
That was like 20 years ago. Your information isn't even relevant anymore.
Yeah, but not to cut you off, Kev. I did.
Xaiphen you're good. Good. I was done.
Yeah, Xaiphen made a good point there. Since we're now 30 minutes over our podcast, we're gonna get closed up here for the day. I think this is a very vehement topic, and yes, it was unfortunate that our first news went longer than expected. I was hoping that would be 15 to 30 minutes, and it ended up being almost a full hour, which is why this ran over. But in any case, if you guys like this is a kind of a new format that we're doing here. Instead of just going all news all the time, we kind of wanted to discuss topics like this. If you guys like this, feel free to, first of all, on YouTube, like the video, comment on us, let us know what you liked or didn't like, and then also on the at the PC podcast, links in the description down below here. Let us know on Twitter. Feel free to join our Discord server. We have a section in there called Podcast Ideas. We would love your feedback on it, just so that way we know if what we're doing, we enjoy these kind of free discussions like this, but we want to know if you guys enjoy this kind of format on here. So definitely let us know in there. On that note, though, we're going to go ahead and get signed off for the week here. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Same time here, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 2 Saturdays from now, back here again on the Pixel Crashers podcast.
Glorious.
Later.
Yeah.
We're done now, right? We're offline?
No.
Are we still rolling?
Yeah, this shit, you're still rolling.
I love scotch.
Rolling.
And this is the part
going off now.
Yeah, this is the part where we make a bunch of jokes about our viewers, and they think that, or because we think that we're not offline, but actually we're still live, so they can still hear us.
Oh no, I'm just gonna talk about my 1,000 subs.
Your 1,000 subs. Wow, man, that's so many subs, man. How did you ever get that many subscribers on YouTube?
I kissed Sony's ass.
No, you paid for them, didn't you? You bought subs.
Maybe. I won't talk about it. Okay?
So let me guess. You sucked off some Sony studio exec whose name rhymes with Balverine.
No, his last name is House.
Ha, Deadpool joke. Ha.
Oh. I don't know that. I didn't watch Deadpool.
I get what you did there.
You what?
I didn't watch Deadpool.
What? Kev, it's literally, this movie was literally made for you. Like, I'm not even kidding. You need to watch Deadpool.
Oh yeah, it's an awesome movie.
No, I'm serious. You like the humor is right up your alley. That's all I'm saying. The humor is right up your alley.
Right up the alley or right up Main Street?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, Kev, all I gotta say is the favorite scene in the movie that you will love is Feminist Appreciation Day. And make sure you watch it with your wife and then discuss Feminist Appreciation Day.
Were you trying to get my dick chopped off?
Nope. You have to watch the movie to
chop
find
it off
out.
and freeze it so you can use it later.
Nope. You have to watch the movie to see.
All right.
Okay. I'm actually going to stop the stream now, I think. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just leave it running and see what kind of crazy shit you guys say when you think that you're not being watched.
I know, right?
Not being watched. My camera's off.